My friend, that's why the base hits fall in for me, and they don't for you, because, I got to tell you something. I don't believe I'm a 300 hitter. I know I'm a 300 hitter.
Oh, boy, is that a difference.
And
Welcome to the Living in the Zone podcast. I'm your host, Zone Coach Jim Fannin. I've coached champions in life, business, and sports for 50 years with a proprietary thought management system that I discovered called S.C.O.R.E. Every guest on this show has been in what we call a zone state, a purposeful, calm feeling where nothing can go wrong, and you're performing at your highest level. Today's guest is Eric Soderholm. Eric, Major League Baseball first-round draft pick by the Minnesota Twins in 1968, and he became a standout third baseman with the Twins, the Chicago White Sox, the Texas Rangers, and the incredible New York Yankees. Eric earned the American League Comeback Player of the Year award in 1977 after a very severe knee injury. After baseball, he became a successful entrepreneur and transformed his life and business and co-founded Soderworld Wellness Center in Willowbrook, Illinois. Join us as we delve into Eric's inspiring story of perseverance, reinvention, and his mission to promote physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Join us now on Living in the Zone.
Eric Soderholm, welcome to Living in the Zone, a former Major League Baseball player, now entrepreneur in a wellness center with all kinds of fun stuff that's happening. But let's go all the way back, because lots changed since you got started in baseball. That's an understatement. I think you got drafted in 1968, I believe, with the Minnesota Twins, and you're the first-round draft choice.
I was.
Today, if you're the first-round draft choice, I mean, the drums, the bugles, the band, and the cash is coming. What'd you get paid? What'd you get paid? What was your bonus?
Are you ready to laugh?
Yeah, I'm ready to laugh.
You
number
have to
one draft
understand, now,
choice.
I'm at South Georgia Junior College. I'm living on maybe $5 a week. I mean, my dad...
Gas was what, 30 cents?
Yeah, but...
Yeah.
Dad, please, can you send me some more money? Send me that. So... I barely got by. My dates were, if I had a date, it was like Dairy Queen. That's all I could afford, right? So I get this phone call in the dorm, and it's Sid Hartman from the Minneapolis Tribune. And he says, hey, we want to let you know you are the number one draft choice of the Minnesota Twins. I go, really? Because nobody, I mean, I was playing and I was...
You didn't expect this?
No, I knew scouts were watching, but... The coach would come up to you, would you be interested in going and playing pro ball or, little things like that. But it's not like anybody was, hey, what's it going to take to sign you? Or nobody said.
No internet, obviously.
Yeah,
right,
nothing.
Right.
I had no agents, no representatives or whatever, and I'm living on $5 a week. And so he tells me that, and I said, oh, wow, that's great. They're going to send in a scout named S.C.O.R.E and offer you a contract. I said, sure. Let me know when. S.C.O.R.E comes in and says, well, we're prepared to pay you $23,500 and pay for the rest of your college education. I go, give me the pen before you change your mind, man. I thought I was like a multi-gazillionaire all of a sudden.
Living the dream.
Oh, my stars. And I was like shocked. So I signed. I go to spring training. I find out Steve Bry, who was the second-round draft choice, got $42,000.
He had an agent.
He got double with the number one guy. That's what an idiot I was. But I don't know. You know what? It is what it is, and I'm so thankful. My life is just so blessed, Jim, like yours too.
Well, this show's about living in the zone. So, I want to know all about the empty spaces between the notes. And the notes for a pro baseball player back then was 154 games. I got to show up. There's no option. It's a long season. Now it's obviously 162. But how was it like your rookie year, being on the road? Were you married at the time?
I was, yeah. I very fortunate that I found the universe just dumped this beautiful girl named Jenny right in my lap.
The most beautiful girl in the world.
She ended up later on winning Mrs. Illinois.
Mrs. Illinois,
Yeah,
I'm aware. She's beautiful.
And she's a great cook, and she loves cleaning. So she comes to a party.
She wasn't blind. Was she blind?
Partially, I guess, yeah. But I was throwing a birthday party for my second baseman at my apartment in Tampa, Florida, and she came to the party. It was her first date with one of the basketball players on the high school team. Some guy, he had to be 6'6", 6'7", and she's all of 5 feet, right? So I open up the door, and I look, and I go like this. I say, wow, that's an interesting pair. But she was beautiful, and so I was like, I had a girlfriend there, but it was like I was trying to pay attention to Ginny all night. Finally,
time to upgrade.
Yeah, yeah. Finally, somebody had her phone number, and I said, I'm going to call you tomorrow. Eric, loved talking to you today, or whatever. I called her, and the rest is history. We were together from that moment on. You know, when you meet somebody, it's kind of like when you and I met.
Oh, yeah.
You just kind of know that, this is like divine intervention here, baby.
It was.
That's how we met. And I think my son, Chahi, was throwing a wellness big convention, and he had...
At Rosemont Convention Center.
Yeah, and you were one of the guest speakers.
I was one of the guest speakers. That's the first time we met. And as soon as I met you, I'm like, I know this guy. I like that.
Yeah.
I know him well on a deeper level.
Yeah, it's a little woo-ish, but you do know everybody can feel that when it's somebody that you're just that energy
on that same vibe wavelength. But when you were with the Twins, you were with some pretty great ball players. The Harmon Killebrew, is that on your?
Yeah,
I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. Rod Carew, arguably the greatest hitter to ever lived. Mm-hmm. You've got a crazy Rod Carew story. Was that your rookie year or after? I think
second year.
Second year.
Yeah.
So tell me what happened, because this cracks me up.
Yeah, it's a kind of a motivational story that I share with people, and that's what I do now when I'm teaching or coaching. I'm doing life coaching at Soderworld and stuff, but that's what I do. I tell baseball. So I think the best thing you can do to coach somebody is tell them stories about your life.
Absolutely.
And it's coming from truth, and it's like... So anyway, Rod Carew obviously was 7-time American League batting champion, and this guy could rain base hits, when he was up there. And this particular night, I hit 4 rockets. I mean, I thought 2 of them were home runs. They were caught at the fence with the arm up like that. I hit a bullet at Doug DeCentes at third base that he took his glove off like that. It went like that. And then I hit a bullet up the middle that Mark Belanger snagged and threw me out. I'm 0 for 4 with 4 rockets.
Over 1,000 feet of baseball.
Yeah, right. And then the same night, Rod Carew got like 5 hits. And not one of them left the infield.
Not one. Oh, my goodness.
He drag bunted twice down the third base line. You couldn't roll him down there any better than he did. And he was very fast, so he beat him out easily. He had 2 kind of medium ground balls up the middle, but they shaded him to the other side because he hit a lot of balls the opposite field. And he beat them both out. And the last one, Jimmy, honest to God, hits home plate and goes straight up in the air.
The Baltimore chop.
Yeah, and the pitcher's waiting for it to come down. He catches it, throws it first base, safe. Guy got 5 hits.
And you're 0 for 4, and you've hit
There's no justice in this game, man. So I'm sitting in the sauna after the game, and he happens to walk in. And I just said, Rod, I said, that's unbelievable. I said, it does. It rains base hits when you're up there. And he looks me in the eye, and he goes, Eric, be honest with me, do you believe that you're a 300 hitter in the big leagues.
But what were you hitting at the time?
270. I said, Rod, I really can't look you in the eye and tell you honestly I believe that yet. My second year, I'm having a good year, hitting 270 something. He said, my friend, that's why the base hits fall in for me and they don't for you. Because, I got to tell you something. I don't believe I'm a 300 hitter. I know I'm a 300 hitter.
Oh, boy, is that a difference.
And the difference between the belief systems that we all have, that we've all been conditioned with all of our lives, all of a sudden you go into this next level, this vibrational frequency that's higher, and it's a knowing state.
You believe you're good.
That's the zone state that you teach.
It is, and then you expect to do it. That's different than and then believing, and then a little validation. You don't need much to get to a sense of knowing.
So I kind of chuckled, and
Now, at that time, when you had a tough day at the yard, 0 for 4, hitting the ball hard 4 times, were you good going back to the house? Did you kick the dog? Could you compartmentalize baseball and then transition and go back into private life? Was that easy? Was that hard?
That's a big secret. If you're going to be a professional athlete, you got to have a very short memory. You got to always be in the now.
Especially as a baseball hitter. Yeah.
Now. This is all that's important. Now. And you can't be in the now if you're stuck. Oh, shit, I just struck out 3 times yesterday. Then you're carrying that negative energy with you in the now. And so you have to be able to shut it off quickly.
But could you shut it? So the game's over. Jenny's in the tunnel waiting on you. Can you turn it off from a negative day? Were you able to do that early in your career?
Not early in my career. I was fortunate enough that Calvin Griffith hired.
That's why Jenny's a saint. To be able to. I tell everybody, if I come back in my next life and I'm the wife of a baseball player, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't want that. That's the hardest job, I think.
Calvin Griffith was the owner of the team, and he had a reputation for being very tight with his money, But the one good thing he did do for me was he hired this guy named Greg Ash, who had a course that, kind of like your Zone podcast course stuff, the S.C.O.R E.
Sure.
He had the same kind of thing way back then, and it was called Success Motivation. And the first thing he had, the first day, you go through the course, like take people through different levels, but he had me write down, and everybody that took the class, write down 20 goals that you would like to accomplish in your lifetime. Just write them down from your heart.
Not baseball, anything.
Yeah. And didn't even get specific on, just whatever your goals were in life. I wrote down like 20 different goals. He's, all right, seal it up, put it in the back of the course, and then we went and we took the course, which was a couple-month course. And he said, sometime in the future, open up that envelope. Jim, I totally forgot about this thing. This thing had been sitting in the closet for 20 years.
20 years?
Easily. This course. After you took the course and you did the goal setting and all that stuff, I kind of forgot about it. I stumble on it, open up the course, and there's that letter still sealed. And I go, no, now that my baseball career is over, I'm already in the business world, whatever. Oh, open it up. I had reached 19 of the 20 goals.
Oh, my goodness.
Subconsciously, once you put that out, that's in the ethers out here. And and subconsciously, if you're connected to that intention, the universe brings it right to you.
Brings it to you every time.
It's the program, right? And I didn't, and so, but the interesting thing was, the one goal that I had not reached, when I was dating Jenny, she lived right next to Tampa Dog Track. And I would go by the dog track, pull in, and play the daily double every night, daily double. And if we won, we'd go out to some nice restaurant. And if we lost, she'd make me a sandwich and we'd watch something on TV. It was great. But so I forgot where I was going with that.
What goal was it? What goal didn't you reach?
Thank you. The one goal I wanted, because I went by this dog track to pick Ginny up, I wanted to own a greyhound racing dog. I just wanted to do that, right? I saw that. I picked up the phone the next day, and up in Kenosha, they had a dog track.
Sure.
And I call and I find out how to own greyhounds. So they direct me to the... I bought 3 greyhounds. They all made it to the track. You buy them when they're little, and then they train them, and they made it to the track. One made it to E, one made it to D, and one made it all the way up to B. But when their career was over, it was like, unfortunately, they become dog food or glue or something. I don't know what they do with them. So they have these adoption agencies. So I said, well, I'm going to adopt. They're my greyhounds. I'll just take them. So we got 3 greyhounds in the house, and my daughter Misty falls in love with them because she loves dogs. She's got a beautiful one now. She'll tell you about it. I heard she's coming on your podcast too. Named Mama, just magnificent dog. But she takes care of 3 greyhounds for us. She takes them to California. You ask her a story about them chasing skunks in the yard, and the skunks it's hysterical, man. They were so wild and free, you couldn't keep them harnessed, and you're trying to walk them, and you got all 3 of them, and then they're pulling you. They want to go. We finally had to donate them to a retirement home for greyhounds on a big farm somewhere.
But you clicked off all 20 goals?
Got all 20 goals.
That is amazing.
All 20 of them. Yeah.
And then you wound up with the White Sox. You've got a White Sox emblem right there.
Yeah.
They definitely need you playing right now, that's for sure. And I think you could probably crack this year's lineup. It's pretty anemic.
That would be pretty bad because I got 2 artificial knees and a tweaky lower back, man.
Yeah, you're a DH.
Can't run 5 feet, so I don't think they need me anymore.
We're a DH, and we'll get a runner for you if you get on. So what was it like coming to the South Side?
Well, it was exciting because it's something new, and I'm kind of one of those guys, okay, like your philosophy that you taught me, next. And so I remember when my career was over, it's just like, oh, God, what am I going to do next? And then you have a talk. You go inside and you start having a talk with yourself. What am I good at? What can I do?
Well, I want to talk, hold up. Before we get there, I want to talk about when you played for the Southside Hitmen. When did that happen?
Well, it was I had hurt my knee real bad, and there was some question from the doctors whether I was ever going to play.
Now, you'd gone from the Twins to the Yankees?
No? Twins to the White Sox, in that first free agency pool. And White Sox were one of 4 teams that drafted me, even though there was some questions about whether I was even going to be able to play or not, And Bill Veeck offered me double my salary. I mean, I'm 5 years in the big leagues, Jim, and I'm making less than $25,000.
Oh my goodness!
That's
wow.
Different in the '70s when before the owners had complete control.
Oh, it was a monopoly.
It was
antitrust monopoly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then now you see the coin's on the other side of the fence.
Well, so you were in the Curt Flood era when he stood up and basically ruined his career, but he stood up for everybody
right.
and said, this is unfair. You all are making all the money and we're the labor and there's nothing here.
Yeah.
So what was it like playing for the Hitman on the South Side? Was that a great season?
We had pretty good teams with Minnesota. I mean, we would always finish second to Oakland. That's when Oakland, Gene Tennyson, Catfish Hunter, and Raleigh Fingers, and Reggie Jackson, those guys, Sal Bando. They were winning. They had a dynasty going. They were winning, but every year we would finish second. And I got to play with some pretty, Bobby Allison and Harmon Killebrew and Tony Oliva. These guys were hitting some bombs, right? Now I come to Chicago and nobody knows anybody because Richie Ziss is coming from Pittsburgh and he's questionable about his health. Ralph Garr, the Roadrunner, is coming from Atlanta. I'm coming from Minnesota. Alan Bannister just had rotor cuff surgery, and he's our shortstop. George
sounds like an infirmary.
Yeah, it's like we were like the Bad News Bears, man. I mean, Vegas had it as 100-1. We had no chance, right? Kind of like the Sox this year, no chance. Well, end of August, we got a 5-game lead. The world is shocked, and the Kaminsky Park is packed every night with 40,000, 50,000 people, even during the week.
How was that like playing? Is that one of the biggest crowds you played in front of 40?
There's no question.
So what's that like?
And it's wonderful when you're playing well. not so wonderful when you're not doing so well.
Oh, they're real close. They can boo you real quick and real close.
So you gotta have thick skin, like we talked about, and you gotta be able to just that's noise, that's background music. You gotta be able to, in anything in your life as you teach, the focus of attention is really required, especially when you're trying to hit a 90-mile-an-hour moving fastball. It's not like I laugh when I play golf. 'Cause I love golf. Ball sitting on the tee, and somebody snaps a picture, and they stop the swing. Will you please? I said, try hitting a 90-mile-an-hour fastball in front of 40,000 people booing you, and you can't, and you're worried about hitting a ball that's on a tee, and everybody's got to be quiet. I mean, I've never been able to understand that, man. It's crazy.
That is crazy. That is crazy. So, in that year, was that the year where you got injured, or that was the fall? When did you get?
The year before is when I got injured real bad. It's a crazy story. Even though I wasn't making much money, Jenny and I thought we were going to at least live in Minnesota. I'm Swedish, Soderholm. I mean, I changed it to Soderholm because it's got a little better ring to it, right? Baseball player. But it's like all the Swedes in Minnesota. It's like, this is a perfect place for me to play. But I can't afford to pay the bills with what I'm getting paid. So we thought we would just go and put a down payment on some land and maybe in the future build a house. So Minnesota's the land of 1,000 lakes, and so there's lakes everywhere. You can get lakeside property pretty easy back then. And so we were going to put a deposit down, and I wanted to tell my friends and my accountant about it. And so Jenny and I drove out to the place. It was all under construction still. I mean, the roads weren't even in yet. So the car pulls in, and we get stuck in the sand. And I can't get out of the place, right? And I said, well, wait here, guys. I'll look for a board or a twig or some kind of branch or something where we can maybe put on a tire to maybe get out of the situation. I walk like 15, 20 feet, and then it's like God sent down this board. There was this board. Matter of fact, it was about the size of your desk right here, about this size right there, laying on the ground. And I go, oh, this is great. No sign. I reach down and I pick it up, both sides, and I go to turn like this, take one step forward. Don't even bother to think that it could have been covering something. It's covering a storm sewer.
Oh, my gosh.
That leads out to the lake.
Oh, my goodness.
I go right into the storm sewer. I'm like in shock. I was in shock for like hours after that. What the hell just happened? It was a surreal moment. And I hit against my ribs as I'd fallen in this way, broke 4 ribs right here. Oh, was it painful? Could hardly breathe.
Definitely can't hit a baseball with bad ribs. That's not possible.
That was like the end of September, but I hurt my knee in that fall, so I tore cartilage. Well,
surgery back then's different than now, for sure. Yeah.
Once these healed, then I had surgery on my knee, and then I came back. I did the rehab, and I came back in spring training next year, and it wasn't within days that it fell apart again. The cartilage, they left part of it in there because they thought it would cushion it or whatever. Back in the old days, that was their mentality, instead of just removing it. So I had to miss that season. And so I got contacted by Nautilus. You might remember the weight training equipment 20-some years ago. They were just coming on the scene, and Dick Buckus was trying to help them promote it and stuff. And they contacted me and said, look, we know what happened. We'll help you rehab your knee at no cost. The only thing you got to guarantee us by signing is that if you come back, we can use the footage that we're going to film to promote this new weight training equipment. I said, deal. And then Calvin Griffith wasn't happy that I was going away from the rehab people that he wanted me to see, but I said, I'm sorry, man. I gotta take this opportunity. So Jenny and I, with 2 little kids, Chihi and his name is Chad, but his spirit name now is Chihi, and Misty, went down. We stayed in a KOA campgrounds for like 9 months.
Oh, my goodness.
We were fishing for our food. We were living on peanut butter and jelly. 2 little babies sitting in
And you're a Major League Baseball player.
And I'm a Major League Baseball
How's
player.
that possible? Today it's unfathomable, really.
I
You'd
know.
be making $12 million a year.
But there's such great experiences in life. I probably wouldn't change any of them, because the beauty in going from nothing to feel like you made it,
So what's a great moment in your hitting career?
I would have to say hitting 2 home runs in the same game against Nolan Ryan.
Holy cow.
Now,
Nolan Ryan, oh my goodness.
Back in the 70s, threw at 100.
The Ryan Express.
Oh. In our era, it was 88, maybe 90. If he broke 90, he was doing great. Nowadays they throw it 95, 100. It's just crazy.
The average guy's throwing 94, 95.
I know.
It's unbelievable.
It's nuts.
So 100.
But back in the 70s, throwing at 100 miles an hour. It was
So the
like
first
you had
time
to,
you
you had to
faced
start your swing before he even let go of the ball.
So the first at bat you faced him were in the batter's box even. Are you fearful?
Well, it wasn't the first time I ever faced him. I had faced him before in my career, but in this particular...
And how had you done before?
Generally an offer. If you came into California and you saw Nolan Ryan and Frank Tanana 1-2, you got a good chance to be 0-8, 0 for 8.
I'd like to phone this in, please.
Yeah. Can I call in sick today? But this particular night in California, I don't know what it was. I guess I was all lined up with the stars or something, but he threw me a high fastball, and I caught up with it. Starting my swing very early, caught up with it, and it almost felt effortless.
Sure.
It was like I hardly even swung. It was like the ball provided all the energy, and it just went flying out of left field. So it was 1-0.
Did he give you a dirty look when you rounded the bases?
No. But then we came up later in the game, and same thing. He was missing with his curveball that night, to be honest with you. And when he's not getting his breaking ball, was
it could have
as
been
good
your
as Bert
intimidation,
Blyleven's.
though, at the plate.
Well, 100, yeah, of course. With him, that big body coming at you and throwing it at 100 miles an hour. But I hit another home run that game, in the same game. Beat him 3-0.
Wow.
Drove in all 3 runs.
Oh, my goodness.
With 2 homers.
What a zone game.
Yeah.
That is a definite zone game.
It's an interesting you say that because it was true. The ball looked like it was coming. I know it was coming 100 miles an hour, but it looked as big as a grapefruit. It looked like it's coming in slow motion. And that's what that zone state is that you talk about.
Our research over the past half century says when you get in that state, your eyes literally double, sometimes even triple shutter speed to give you that illusion that it's slowing down. And it definitely looks bigger in the last 2 feet, which is the hardest place to see the ball.
Yeah.
And, usually move your head. Yeah, those are magic moments. Now, after you had the 2 home runs, I'm sure your teammates went nuts and, congrats and all that. Did it carry on longer?
I was the last out, I believe, in one of his early no-hitters. I think I was the last out. So my career against him isn't great, except for that one game.
No, I mean after you hit the 2 runs against him, and then you leave California. Did you make a run in the next 10 games or 15 games? Did you have any zone runs where, man, you were just unconscious for a period of time, a week, 2 weeks? What's the longest streak you had?
I don't know if I can recall the longest streak I had, but you definitely, when you're in the zone, you don't even think. It's just like you're in it, and you're just so appreciative of being in it. You don't want to think too much about it because it might throw you out of it, right?
When you're aware of being in it, you're not in it any longer.
Okay.
You're now out of it.
Yeah,
exactly.
I rest my case.
So now you had another zone moment with Howard Cosell.
Oh, boy.
Please tell me that. Tell me that story. This transcended baseball.
It did. This particular story did more for my baseball career than any home run I could have ever hit. I was inspired somehow. and I know now what it is. You know, when you're in that vortex or the vibrational frequency of listening and being silent and listening and letting it come to you. I had read a book, and there was a funny poem that had a surprise ending in it. And it was kind of baseball-ish, but I said, oh, you know what? This is pretty cool. Maybe I can just insert Richie's this name and Nolan Ryan's name and Eric, and I'm this, make a long story short, I kind of downloaded this, poem. So...
In your mind?
In my mind, yeah. So I wrote it out. I kind of wrote it out, played with it for a while, and then got on the bus that night, and Howard Cosell was on the bus. We're with us going to
the great Hall of Fame Howard Cosell.
And I got on the bus, and something said, guys, this came to me. I just want to read it. And a warm day in August when history was, and I did this poem. Howard Cosell said, oh, my God, you got to do this on Monday night TV. You got to do this. I said, Howard, I'm going to have to read it. He said, that's fine, read it. Just bring. I do this poem Monday night.
Now, is this Monday night baseball or Monday night football?
Baseball.
Monday night baseball.
Yeah. And do this poem. And it's like what they call now, things go viral.
Yeah.
We had no computers back then, but if this was a viral moment, it was. I mean, there were thousands and thousands of people heard me do this poem on Monday Night TV before the game.
So let's hear it. Come on, let's hear it.
Let me see. I should be able to remember it all because I've done it so much at outings, but it's called A Warm Day in August. So it was a warm day in August when history was made. The people in the box seats were hunting for shade. The bases were loaded and it was the last inning. And from the sound of the crowd, you knew we weren't winning. Then out of the dugout came Richie Zisk, and everyone knew the ball would be kissed. Legend here tells of Casey at the bat, but today was the Pollock who tipped his hat. And cursing and swearing came from the stands when Richie was way back by Bob Lemon's hand. Astonishing look came over Zisk's face when Lemon said, Soderholm's taking your place. As Eric stepped from the dugout came a scream from the fan. You can't hit Soderholm. The big Pollocks are, man. Never before in history have they pinch hit for Zisk, especially with a bad, neat free agent who was a big risk. This has to be a mockery, a dirty, rotten shame to pinch hit for a man who's sure a Hall of Fame. God help me, this one time kept going through my mind. If I ever get a hit, please let it be this time. Nolan Ryan looked in and thought this should be a cinch to throw 3 strikes by this writer of the bench. Strike 1 was the call from the man in blue. And 4 pitches later, it was now 3-2. Now everything rode on the very next pitch. Would Eric stay a poor man, or would he suddenly be rich? Then the crack of the bat and the long drive to right, and the back of Joe Rudy's uniform was the only thing in sight. Then the roar from the crowd was a deafening scream. Then Eric fell out of bed. It was only a dream. I didn't know you were going to ask me to do that, so I apologize for the mental lapse there for a second. But, but you got the idea.
So once you said that on air, newspaper, was it everywhere?
Oh, yeah, it was in the paper the next day. Next day in the paper. And then it was like fan mail. I had stacks of fan mail, want copies of it and this and that.
So when you started to retire, that's tough for a pro athlete to know that the end is near. The body's telling you it's time to hang them up.
Yeah.
How was that like?
That's tough.
What was that like
really
making
tough.
that transition?
When you really love doing something you've done all your life and you realize it's over, it's hard. It's hard to move through that.
And was it hard on Jenny as well?
I think Jenny just always had the confidence in me that I would always be a good provider. Matter of fact, I asked her one time, I said, "What of all the years we've been together, I'm just curious, what was my best characteristic?" She said, "Oh, you were a great provider. A great family man, great provider." I learned that. It took me a long time to get there, but I finally learned that. And my dad used to tell me that all the time, too, and I never really believed it much. Son, it's all about family.
And then you got into the ticket business.
I did, because I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I had to have I was good at one thing, baseball. I wasn't good at anything else. I was working in the off season, for my wife's father, trying to do construction and hit my hand with the hammer.
Everybody listen, think about that. I mean, here's a Major League Baseball player that has a job, has to have a job in the off season, working maintenance. I mean, that's pretty amazing. That was prevalent, though, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, definitely.
Sold insurance. I hated that because I was trying to sell something that people couldn't see. You know, it's one thing to sell something that people can put their hands on. But
you retired.
I retired, and so I had a long talk with myself, and it was like, all right, what can I do now? I mean, your famous saying that you've taught me so well, next, you know.
The next chapter.
Next chapter of my life. And so
why tickets?
Well, it actually started first with giving hitting lessons. I set up a batting cage in my backyard and had a pitching machine, pitched balls in, and all day long I would give hitting lessons. My neighbor, that was an old guy that lived behind us, he didn't like that at all. Crack. He said, I'm trying to take a nap, you know, and you got crack all day long, you know. So he ended up, it forced me, he was going to sue me, so it forced me to bring it indoors. So I had to build a enclosed batting cage that has now transformed many times since then. It was an indoor lap pool. Now it's a beautiful apartment kind of complex with a kitchen and a bed and in it. So it had a lot of evolution to that particular space. But I gave hitting lessons, but eventually maybe it happens to you, I do, because you got to say the same things most of the time over and over and over, unless you catch somebody that's really got some real talent, you know. Then you can get a little bit more intricate with them, you know. But most of the kids are coming at 10, 15. You know, I'm hitting a button, and it just gets, it got monotonous, got old.
Sure.
And so then I got a phone call from a friend of mine who said, hey, did you hear Michael Jackson and his brothers are playing at Comiskey Park? Call down there to the PR department and get some tickets. This would be a great show to go see. I said, yeah, I'm a fan. I'll call. I call, and the guy's name was Danny Cohen, and he said, listen, we don't have any control of the tickets here. I'll send you to a ticket broker, a guy named Don Patano. He's got upfront tickets. And I know he's a big fan of yours because I heard him talk about you. And I said, all right, I didn't even know what a ticket broker was. So I called down there, and he said, oh, Eric, man, I'm a big fan. Bring down an 8x10 autograph picture, kind of like the one you got right there.
Exactly.
And so I go down there, and there's people in line. There's money. There's tickets everywhere. I'm going, geez, this looks like a pretty good money-making business. Can anybody get in this business? But I'm such a big fan. You just come up with a business card, and if somebody happens to call you, I'll get the tickets for you, and then you mark it up 10, 20%, whatever you want to make. I said, oh, great, I'll start. I started as a hobby. I'll try it. So Bob Uecker's on TV, and he's got that commercial where the lady goes down and says, sir, I think you're in the wrong seat. He goes, oh, I must be in the front row, and he was in the balcony, right? Remember that? God, how many years ago was that? And so I said, oh, that's a cute little name. I think we'll call it Looks Like the Front Row.
Wow.
That's just from that Bob Uecker commercial.
From that
Looks
commercial.
Like the Front Row. So I had up business cards, and I just started passing them out to friends and said, hey, I got contact for ball games and concerts and stuff. Just call me. And I wondered if the phone was going to ring even once or twice a day, right? And it didn't take that long before you know it. Hey, I need 4 tickets for this. Can you give me 4 Cubs?
Then here comes Michael Jordan.
And here comes, the Bears first, 1985 Super Bowl.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man. Now I'm selling tickets that are $1,000 a ticket. It's like, whoo, this is like fast money quick, right? And so I got pretty addicted to it, and I jumped in both feet, and it grew and grew and grew. And then Michael Jordan comes around in the 90s and got me 6 championships. You know how big a ticket that was?
I had floor seats. It was an arm and a leg.
Oh.
You couldn't even get a ticket.
People I'm sure tried to buy them from me.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you could build an addition on your house.
Easy. They were so expensive.
Oh, it was crazy. So that was quite a run. And I had an offer from a lawyer downtown to buy front row at $1.5 million. He'd give me $750 cash, and then the rest he wanted to finance.
Holy cow!
This was back in the '90s, but Michael Jordan had just won 3. He hadn't won all 6 yet, and we're doing like millions in gross sales. And it's like, man, I want it. Some said you should probably take this, But it was like
The wise inner voice.
Yeah, right, exactly. I didn't listen to it because my brothers, especially, I have two brothers, and they were working for me, and their whole life depended on the money that they were making. And he got involved a little bit, helping us market things and stuff. And Misty even worked for us a little bit.
Now, at the same time, the Soderworld, what was going on there? When did that kick in terms of
front row was starting to go this way because the 9/11 thing, and then a company called StubHub.
StubHub.
It was a bunch of guys from Harvard who came in and actually sat in my office and interviewed me and wanted to know because they said that they were doing a thesis on ticket brokering. So I'm spilling my heart out to them. And we're having this problem with our owners, and we're having this. I'm spilling everything to these guys because I'm thinking I'm helping them get an A on their paper. That turns out to be guys that created StubHub.
Oh, my goodness.
But I wasn't the only guy being interviewed. They were going around to everybody and trying to find out as much as they could of what was the negative aspects that they could try to fix about the ticket business. So they started StubHub, and we had just spent $250,000 as an association, Central State Ticket Brokers Association, which I was the vice president. We had just spent $250,000 trying to legalize the business because it was one of those trench coat deals. Hey, you need 2 tickets,
right.
And there's no taxes being paid anywhere. You could be buying stolen tickets, and so we were trying to legitimize the business that had been in the closet. So we came out with this beautiful bill. And we got it sponsored by Senator Homer. It doesn't even get out of committee. Reinsdorf called, said, we need to put these guys out of business. Jerry Michelson from Jam Productions, we need to put these guys out of business.
Wow.
So they wanted no part of it. So, of course, Mike Madigan kind of cut it off,
How
right?
stressful was this time of your life?
Extremely.
Living in the zone was a challenge?
No, it's not a zone at all. Matter of fact, you're around a table with all these ticket brokers, and one of them said, hell, I'd shoot my mother for 4 front row tickets for Michael Jackson. Things like that. You feel like you're in a den of thieves. I'm going, what the hell am I doing here? Because this is all about money. I'm trying to survive and make money and stuff like that. And it seemed like, hey, fast money. So you get lured into that.
Sure.
Fortunately, now later in my life, I realized it's not about money. And we've got something going special at Soderworld. It isn't about money. It's about healing.
So tell me about Soderworld. It's a very unique place. It's in the southwestern suburbs of Chicago, probably about 25, 27, 28 miles maybe from Soldier Field. What a place. If you're in Chicago, you need to go there. The back part of the property is so special. It's like I'm in Shangri-La. Where am I? How did this get evolved? How did it end up from a strip center where I believe it started with Front Row, and then how'd you get the new place?
Well,
How did that happen?
It's a great story. And I like to start it always by saying it's amazing what we're looking at. I even amaze myself at what we collectively have been able to create there. But it all started with one phone call. My daughter had gone out to California, and she was studying at the San Diego School for the Healing Arts and perfecting her trade. She's always been a real spiritual girl, and she's been a great healer, and she's been a magnificent. You want the best massage of your life, you want to go to this girl. And so she went out there to study, and while she was there, she got a part-time job, she thought, working for Deepak Chopra.
Oh, wow.
He's got a huge healing arts center out there, and so we, knowing that she was working for him, come on out. So Jenny and I went out there and got to experience the whole place and stuff. And so about a year later, she's working for him 2 years. Dad, we gotta do something in Chicago. We gotta do what he's doing here. We gotta do it in Chicago. And as you know, Front Row was going this way, and StubHub was on the scene now, and I was kind of burnt out of ripping people off, and I had gotten kind of on a little spiritual path myself and started reading and stuff, and I just wasn't comfortable ripping people off anymore. And so I said, okay, honey, let's do it. So we had no business plan. We just opened it up in a strip mall, five units. 1,000 square feet, wondering if anybody was going to come. And they started coming. And it was cold on the outside, the strip mall, but on the inside you could feel the warmth.
Feel the vibe. As soon as you walked in, you could feel it. You can still feel it.
Yeah, right, exactly. So then in our second year, the people next to us went out of business. It was design kind of furniture place or whatever. And they went out of business, and so Misty said, why don't we take that place and we'll open up the wall and create a yoga studio? And I said, well, okay, I guess, we're doing okay. We can afford that. So we did. And then after about 3.5, going into the fourth year, these people went out of business next to them. And so Misty says, well, let's grab that place. And so now we got 3,000 square feet.
Oh, boy.
And we're doing like a spiritual classroom area where we taught Course in Miracles and a bunch of stuff, a bunch of spiritual stuff in that classroom. Excuse me. And so now we're 3,000 square feet. The landlord comes into me, and he says, hey, I'll give you another 5-year lease. But the bad news is you got 3 units of the 5. And I've got a 25-year-old air conditioning heating unit on the roof, still on the roof back then. And he says, I got to redo the whole thing. And so I'm going to have to raise your rent $200 a unit.
Oh,
$600.
wow.
I said, we probably don't even make $600 because this place is about helping people heal, not so much about money. And I teasingly said to him, I said, hell, I could probably build a place and have less of a mortgage to the bank than I'm paying you, and I'm paying him $4,800 a month. So he says to me, well, go ahead, smartass.
Oh, wow.
And I go, oh no, where am I gonna put Soderworld here when our lease is up? So I started to panic a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't have said anything, This is how the universe works. 3 days later, a lady walks in for her massage. And she says, I know I'm 20 minutes late, 15, 20 minutes late, but I want my whole hour massage, and this is why. And she slaps down directions to Soderworld that she downloaded from the computer, MapQuest directions. Honest to God, Jimmy, it says Soderworld, and it's right there on her sheet of paper, is located. It had not just a little dot, it had a circle with an X. Soderworld is located on Route 83 and Nielsen Lane. Now, we weren't on Route 83 and Nielsen Lane. We were on Route 83 and 91st Street, which is about 500 yards up the street. The lady says, I've been going down there, and there's nothing but this wooded piece of property and a bunch of trees and bushes, and there's some cul-de-sac houses in the back. I actually went back there, was knocking on people's houses. One lady answered the door and said, I think it's in the shopping center up there on 91st Street.
Wow.
And I said, wow. And she said, that's why I'm late. So you need to call MapQuest, get that fixed, because I want my whole hour. I said, man, it'll put a spine, but okay. That's a legitimate excuse. I wish I'd have grabbed that paper, but she took it. Jim, honest to God, sitting in the lobby during that whole situation was a guy named Joe Justin. He jumps up. He says, Eric, he says, I know who you are. I was a Sox fan. You don't know who I am. But I overheard that conversation with that lady. My name is Joe Just. I work for Remax Realtors. That property that she's talking about on Route 83 and Nielsen Lane, I'm the listing agent.
No way.
And I've sold that property twice already, and both times it fell through because it's a wetland piece of property. There's a creek that runs through there, and there's a pond in the back that's got bicycles and tires in it. They might have buried Capone back there. Who knows, He says, but you don't need the back part of it. All you need is the front. There's 40,000 cars that go by you a day. I said, God, that sounds pretty good. And he said, maybe someday they'll let you build a walking path or something back there, like a little Garden of Eden. I go, you know what? That's really resonating with me. Let's do that. He hooks me up with the bank, and we offer the guy 2/3 of what he was asking for, but he had already lost 2 sales, so he was anxious to sell. He was the lawyer who wanted to retire to Florida. He takes it. So here we are. All right, we're just winging it, baby. We're at the end of our lease, and we need month to month. Here we go. We're not signing any more leases. Give us month to month so we can say we're going to build this place. It took us about 8-9 months.
You took me there when it was nothing, and I'm like, where am I? And you're right. Capone could have been buried back there. It was gnarly, and there were tires and brackish water.
Yeah.
It was like, what is this place?
I know. It's quite a story to come from that phone call to where we have now evolved to. This beautiful A-frame log cabin building, about 5,500 square feet. That was inspired by my dad, because when I'd come home from school, my dad, when he was retired, was building A-frame dollhouses. And he would sell them to people at the church or somebody that wanted one for their daughter or something. He built A-frame dollhouses.
That's where
that was the
A-frame
motivation.
came from.
Yeah,
oh,
it
my
came from.
goodness. I didn't know
And
that.
so I had an architect friend of mine design an A-frame and stuff. And in retrospect, if we had to do it now, we'd do some things different, especially the sound inside and stuff, But it was a beautiful building right on Route 83. It looked like it was right out of Colorado mountains.
And then you have a massage school and massage therapist, art gallery, everything.
Sound journeys that are just blow your mind. The whole thing is not. I told the kids, I said, this cannot be about money. I've already had a company that was about greed and money. This is genuinely got to be about healing.
You've had some amazing programs there, and it's love donations.
A lot of them.
I love that. I mean, what's not to like about
and people,
that?
when you inspire,
they're probably very generous.
Yeah, when you inspire somebody like that, you sometimes instead of charging $10, $15, $20 for a class or something and getting 8 people, love donations, you might get 30 people in there. They end up giving you $10, $15, $20 a piece probably most of the time anyway through the love donations. But I just wanted people to know that this was genuinely, authentically about you working on you and healing yourself. We're going to provide, Misty's provided and Shahid provided this gigantic platform. I mean, our brochure is like this thick. You can go through there and pick anything. Ayurvedic treatment, how to meditate.
Sound therapy,
anything, hypnosis, Akashic record readings, whatever. I suppose if you're a little bit like this, you could say, oh, it's a woo-woo place. Woo-woo place. But I happen to like woo-woo. I happen to like that a lot.
I live a woo-woo life.
Because I see this world and this dimension that we're in with this duality and this fighting and this bickering and stuff, and I'm going, there's got to be something better. So what we did
there's never been a time in history where we've had so much information coming to us. There's information overload, the internet, TikTok. We've seen kids' attention span go from 22 seconds all the way down to 5 seconds. And we had a meeting even today before our podcast with a university saying these kids can't hold their focus. But the one thing that also is missing, there's so much negativity and worry and anxiety, and you're really the solution for that. Hands-on solution.
Well, I think we're all way showers. I think all you can do is plant a seed. You don't want to go this way. Hey, you got to listen to me, man. This is what you got to do to break out. No. That soul is in that body working on what it needs to be working on, and everything is perfect for what that soul needed to experience. We're just, if you're not happy with it, there's another way that you can maybe look at this. And when you can get people to change their perception on the way they're looking at a drama or whatever and realize, what is it that is good for me here? What am I to learn from there? Because this isn't about which religion is right, which religion is wrong, or, it's about expansion of consciousness.
It is.
That's all it's about. In your zone stuff, you're really planting seeds to teach them how to expand their consciousness.
It goes even into golf, and that's another time when you and I got together. You came to one of my Golf in the Zone schools, and the whole premise of the school is get a blueprint of how you're going to play, get your game plan, and then lower your thoughts.
Right.
When you hit 2 home runs with Nolan Ryan, you weren't thinking about anything except just watching the ball at that moment.
Yeah.
In the moment.
See the ball.
And you all teach that. But I want to talk about your golfing because you are really a great golfer.
Well, great might be a stretch, but thank you.
At your age.
I'm 70. I'm going to be 76
You're shooting your
this year.
age.
I'm still a single-digit handicapper. There's not a lot of 76ers out there, unless you're kind of pro, that have a single-digit handicap. And I'm proud to say I still have that. I still hit it pretty good. My only issue now is 2 artificial knees and a tweaky bad back, and the conditions. If it's raining or the backs, But listen, I'm just glad to be able to still be competitive. Matter of fact, because I get to hit from the senior tees, and all the guys I play with will not let me hit from up there. No. You're back here with us. Wait a minute, I'm almost 80 years old. What are you talking about?
So there's a lot of side hustle on. A lot of skins, a lot of double.
When you're retired, you increase your pension program by little golf, a little gin with the boys. It helps. It helps when you can bring in a little extra income.
You've got a couple of guys playing gin. They're your ATM machine. I already know about that.
Roger.
Yes, I do know. Hello, Roger. Listen, living in the zone. That's our message here, to find that purposeful calm in everything in your life, not just in one thing. And I think today too many kids put all their happy eggs in one basket. Major League Baseball players, all my happy eggs. That's really a bad investment. What kind of advice, as we conclude our podcast? I definitely want you to have you back on. I appreciate you being here. I have to. I mean, your picture's on the wall, for God's sakes. You're the only one that's on the podcast wall. Yeah. What kind of advice would you give to somebody, or even tell your younger self?
I think my favorite bit of advice is, look, this is a short little trip here. You're way more than this physical body. And this trip is, for you to learn and evolve your consciousness into the highest state. To get there, you have to play the game with no fear. Fear, I think, is the killer. It's the thing that destroys everything. So continuing to choose things that you're excited about, things that you're passionate about, things that you love doing. And when you do that and you're rocking, time goes by so fast. I'm 76 now, and I'm going, where did the time go?
Where did the time go? At some point you wake up and realize, I got more past than I will ever have future.
Oh, yeah.
That's a creepy thought that pops into people's minds.
It's about, just for me, enjoy the journey.
Enjoy the journey. And that's how we're going to leave.
Okay.
You've had an amazing journey. I'm so glad you came onto the show. I'm going to have you back. And I will be at Soderworld, and I'm looking forward to having Misty get a little kinks out of me and a little stress out of the back.
And a little talk at the koi pond.
Talk at the koi pond. Great to see you.
Always
Thanks
have
for
great
being
talks.
here.
Thanks, Jimmy.
You're
Appreciate
the best.
it.
You're
Thanks,
the
man.
best.
Love you, man.
Thanks for watching or listening to Living in the Zone podcast. Make sure that you subscribe so you can be up to date on all of our information and content. Go to zonecoach.com, where you're going to learn more on how we can help you live your life, business, or sport in the zone.